So Milan beating Spurs by 1-0 in the first leg of their Champions League round of 16 tie, Ali, is a good win for Milan. However, that was two average sides, was it not?
It was hard to watch. I'll say that much. Look, I think the environment in San Siro, it was you could feel the ambience, you could feel the fans, you could feel that it was a big, important evening at San Siro, that it was something significant for the fans. And then that was it. The game itself, while it had intensity and people running back and forth and tackling and turnovers, the quality of the game wasn't all that high. So it leaves you with this feeling that regardless of what happened in this first leg and regardless of what happens in the second leg and who goes through, neither one of these teams is really built to make a deeper run in the tournament. We didn't get a sense of a high quality team dominating over the other, or an intense matchup of quality, not an intense matchup of fight, but an intense matchup of quality and tactical adjustment and individual players really sticking out and saying, you know what, I'm a superstar, give me the ball, I'll make decisions. We didn't see enough of that from either team. You're happy if you're Milan because you won or 1-0, and I think if you're Spurs, given your performance, you're happy because, you know what, it was damage control, and you trust that coming home, you're going to be able to figure it out and advance on to the next round.
Yeah, and Spurs will feel optimistic, maybe not confident, but certainly optimistic of turning it around. It's a good point you make about the talent, the world-class talent on show. They need to be more involved, though. I mean, Harry Kane's a brilliant player. Son Heung-min, I don't know what has happened to him. 23 goals last season, and he's only got 4 in the Premier League this season. And that's in 2 games. He got a hat-trick in one of the games. He scored in September, and I think January was the other month that he scored in. So is it time for Spurs to maybe think, you know what, this is Antonio Conte, and this is his formation, and he does what he does, and he puts them in there, and Kane goes there, and Son goes there, Kulusevski goes there. Is it time for him to maybe think, okay, Richarlison or Danjuma coming in for Son, or maybe a 4 at the back, change things, get the opposition guessing, because they need to get more out of their world-class players to get their world-class players more involved in Harry Kane. So what do they do?
Yeah, we've been throwing the word of confidence around when we describe Marcus Rashford and the level of play that he has shown over the last few months. We can throw that same word around for Heung-min Son and say the lack of confidence, and it is clear to see those long runs that we're used to seeing from Heung-min Son, where he's able to display that speed and the change of pace and the change of direction. There's none of that going on. And even when he goes on a long run, I don't think he truly believes that he's going to get around defenders, and he doesn't quite know or see a clear picture as to what's in front of him and how to combine with the rest of the team. When he's in front of goal, he's not even looking for a shot. It's clear, and that this is a player that right now is searching. And when you have a player that is searching, then perhaps the best that you can do for him is give him a break and allow him to see a picture from off the field. The problem is you don't quite have a player with the same characteristics of Heung-min Son. And while we think of Harry Kane as a central striker and a guy that sometimes plays withdrawn and sometimes comes in a deeper position, you need somebody to run beyond him, which is ideally what you would have Heung-min Son doing. Those are the guys that you have mentioned. Danjuma is not at the same level, I do not believe.
Not yet.
And when I think of Richarlison is closer to Harry Kane type than he is to a Heung-min Son. And sometimes Richarlison will even take himself into wider positions, which doesn't help Harry Kane if he plays withdrawn, because you need somebody to run through the middle. I just don't think there is a like for like, but if the struggles continue for Heung-min Son, I think he's taking the decision away from Antonio Conte, and he's making his mind up, and he's saying, this guy right now cannot put 2 and 2 together, and so therefore I need to find a solution. I just think that Antonio Conte looks around and says, I don't think I have a solution. And he's hoping that Heung-min Son snaps out of it. But I think we've all been hoping for that for a while now.
You want to be in a position to score one and know that there's a good chance you're going to get all 3 points. Newcastle have been pretty good at doing that this season. For Spurs, though, this defence, there's something about it. Christian Romero on his day can be a really good player. But other times you're just like, ooh, he's a yellow card, potentially a red card waiting to happen. Eric Dyer didn't have a good game last night. He's suspended for the second leg. But I think it's in front of them. I think with Bentancur now out injured for a while, the spine of the team, it's fine up the top, but the further back you get, it becomes more problematic. And that's another thing that Antonio Conte's got to worry about.
Look, there are a lot of things to worry about for Spurs. And you lose against Milan and you say, well, it's away from home, it's San Siro, it's the environment, it's the ambience of the stadium, Champions League, this and that and the other. But you got destroyed in the weekend by Leicester, right? And you were playing against a team in Milan that, let me tell you, just in case you didn't know, they have been struggling. And I mean struggling in Serie A. They haven't been able to really figure out who they are, what they're trying to do. And they're shifting and changing formations and shifting and changing personnel, trying to find solutions. So they've had their own issues themselves, and yet you go and lose. I think the way that you look at it, if you're Spurs, is we cannot be as bad as we were against Leicester. We cannot be as bad as we were at times against Milan in the first leg. We're going to improve. We're going to give ourselves an opportunity, and at home, we're going to be better. That's what you're leaning on. But you're not leaning on because of a history of recent success. Because if you look at the performances from Spurs in recent history, you kind of go, that's a very lean history there. And so I think you hope that coming home is going to be able to open up a world of possibilities for you. Other than that, I can just tell you, both of these teams are here in this tournament to add flavor, and that's about it. There's not much more I can say about either Milan or Spurs really making a deep run in this competition.
Okay, I'm going to ask you one final question about Spurs. And you and I both know, having commentated and analysed Antonio Conte teams over the years, he stays around for a while, but not for too long. Therefore, with a lot of people saying, can we get Pochettino back? First game of next season. Do you think Antonio Conte is still in charge of Spurs?
It really depends on what happens in the run towards top four. If they make it into the top four, I think he'll be around. If they don't, I don't see a scenario in which he sticks around, or whether they want him around. We have learned from him in the past that when things do not go his way, then the finger starts being pointed in all sorts of different directions, and he creates an untenable situation where it's best for him to go elsewhere. Top four is the goal for Spurs. They achieve that, I think he'll be around.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.